Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari. Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari. Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana. Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Mr. Pad Paramahamsa Paravajakacharya Ashtottara Sri Srimad Divine Grace Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai. ISKCON BBT Founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jai Om Viṣṇu Pad Paramahamsa Paravajakacharya Ashtottara Sri Srimad His Divine Grace Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnavanda Ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Srimad Bhagavad Gita Ki Jai. Samaveda Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glory to Sri Guru and Gauranga. Okay. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. On this 25th day of May, 2026 in San Diego, we're reading from Srimad Bhagavad Gita as it is, translation and commentary by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. And we are in Chapter 3, Karma Yoga, text 9, I believe, on page 146. Yagyartat karmano anyatra loko ayam karma bandhanaha tadartam karma kaunteya mukta sangha samachara yajñartat karmano nyatra lokoyam karma bandhanaha tadartam karma kaunteya mukta sangha samachara yajñartat karmano nyatra lokoyam karma bandhanaha Tadartam karma kaunteya mukta sanga samachara yagyartat karmano nyatra lokoyam karma bandhanaha tadartam karma kaunteya mukta sanga samachara. Tapas, you want to try? Yagyartat karmano nyatra lokoyam karma bandhanaha tadartam karma kaunteya mukta sanga samachara. Go ahead, Ami. Yagyartat karmano nyatra lokayam karma bandhanaha. Hey. Tadartam karma kaunteya mukta sanga samachara. Yagyartat karmano nyatra lokoyam karma bandhanaha tadartam karma kaunteya mukta sanga samachara. Page 146. Anyone online? Who was it? Who?
Yadartat karmano nyatra
Yadartat karmano nyatra
lokoyam karma bandhanaha
lokoyam karma bandhanaha
tadartam karma kaunteya
tadartam karma kaunteya
mukta sanga samachara.
mukta sanga samachara. So where are you, in Goloka?
I wish. It's just Nebraska, unfortunately.
You went there for a marriage or something of your niece?
My niece is graduating, and then I have that trip with Balaram Prabhu next week. I'm meeting him in Indianapolis.
Okay, great. But your health is okay?
Yeah.
Great.
Hare Krishna. Thank you.
Okay, word by word. Yajna are taught, done only for the sake of yajna or Viṣṇu. Karmanaha, than work, anyatra, otherwise, lokaha, world, ayam, this, karma bandhanaha, bondage by work, taught of him, artam, for the sake, karma, work, kaunteya, O son of Kunti, mukta sangaha, liberated from association, samacharaha, do perfectly. Translation. Work has to be performed as a sacrifice for Viṣṇu. Otherwise, work causes bondage in this material world. Therefore, O son of Kunti, perform your prescribed duties for his satisfaction, and in that way you will always remain free from bondage. Now I have to ask a question. Is that the translation you have there?
No.
You don't really. There's been a revision. You have work as a sacrifice of Viṣṇu has to be performed. Yeah. All right. Well, let me explain it since. Yes, work has to be performed. Work has to be performed as a sacrifice for Viṣṇu. So, in English grammar, we have something called the subject and the predicate. Bhakta John is a little bit overweight. Okay, it's a sample sentence. And so the subject is Bhakta John, and the predicate is a little bit overweight. You see, so what we had for years was, and the reason I realized why Prabhupada translated that, because the first word is yagyartat, done for the sake of Viṣṇu. So he took karma, so work as a sacrifice of Viṣṇu must be performed. But the real subject of the sentence is work, and the predicate has to be performed as a sacrifice of Viṣṇu. So that's why we changed it, because I gave this. Many of you remember Gaur Keshava and his family. Remember him? You remember him. Yeah. So he had that little boy Mukunda, who was a great drummer, but he was so small that he couldn't carry the big drum, so he had to sit and play. I'm sure now there was a period there where every time I saw him, I saw he was growing an inch. The kids, they grow in spurts sometimes. And very nice daughter, Brinda, who would sometimes sing Tulsi Puja. And of course his wonderful wife, Ananga Priya, who was a great cook, and they were all wonderful devotee family. So what came to mind when I was working on Bhagavad Gita and thinking, is this right? Does it need revision? Is that suppose you have a situation like this, that Gaurkeshava is very dutifully wants to follow this instruction in the Bhagavad Gita. So he tells his family, okay, this Saturday's coming, I'm off work and everything, so we're going to go down to the temple, and Mukunda and I will work in the temple and do a maha cleanup. We'll straighten all the mats and we'll mop and sweep the place. Do it as best we can until lunchtime, so there'll be a few hours. Meanwhile, Ananga Priya and Brinda will work in the kitchen, working to cook the Raj Bhoga, which is the main offering during the day to the Lord. And that way, work as a sacrifice of Viṣṇu will be performed by us. And then whatever we else do during the week will be fine, because we've done our work as a sacrifice of Viṣṇu. But that's the danger, because it's not that work as a sacrifice of Viṣṇu has to be performed. All your work has to be performed. Otherwise, whatever you don't do as a sacrifice will bind you. And that's where the otherwise comes in, you see. So anyway, let me read the purport. So that's why we had the revision. And I have the latest. This one was probably printed 24 or something like this. And yours were printed earlier. That's probably what happened. Yeah, this is a 24 edition. So eventually we'll get them all. Then there are other revisions also that'll come up. Okay, purport. Purport. Since one has to work even for the simple maintenance of the body, the prescribed duties for a particular social position and quality are so made that that purpose can be fulfilled. Yajna means Lord Viṣṇu, or sacrificial performances. We had a comma in there. That was a big mistake. Yajna means Lord Viṣṇu, comma, or sacrificial performances. No. Viṣṇu is not sacrificial performances. It means both of those things. So yajna can also mean as a name same for Krishna or Viṣṇu. All sacrificial performances also are meant for the satisfaction of Lord Viṣṇu. The Vedas enjoin yajño vai Viṣṇu. In other words, the same purpose is served whether one performs prescribed yajnas or directly serves Lord Viṣṇu. Krishna consciousness is therefore performance of yajna as it is prescribed in this verse. The Varnashram institution also aims at satisfying Lord Viṣṇu. Varnashramacharta bhata purushena padak puman Viṣṇu aradyate panta ananya tatoshikara, and that's the rest of the verse. Therefore, one has to work for the satisfaction of Viṣṇu. Any other work done in this material world will be a cause of bondage, for both good and evil work have their reactions, and any reaction binds the performer. Therefore, one has to work in Krishna consciousness to satisfy Krishna or Viṣṇu. And while performing such activities, one is in a liberated stage. This is the great art of doing work, and in the beginning, this process requires very expert guidance. One should therefore act very diligently, under the expert guidance of a devotee of Lord Krishna, or under the direct instruction of Lord Krishna himself, under whom Arjuna had the opportunity to work. Nothing should be performed for sense gratification, but everything should be done for the satisfaction of Krishna. This practice will not only save one from the reaction of work, but also gradually elevate one to transcendental loving service of the Lord, which alone can raise one to the kingdom of God. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnanandana Shalakaya Chakshua Unmilitam Mena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I was born in the darkest of ignorance, but my spiritual master Srila Prabhupada opened my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge. I offer my humble obeisance unto him and all members of Sri Parampara, the disciplic succession. So, Karma Yoga is kind of an important element of the whole science of Krishna consciousness. This phrase, Mukta Sangha, that's in the translation, it can mean different things. Here, probably liberated from association, and in the translation, it's translated free from bondage, Mukta Sangha. Now, Sangha is one of those words that I've spoken about. It's kind of warm in here. Forgive me. Which has several meanings. It can mean attachment, or it can mean association. It's like that. If you look up, you go to the English dictionary, you'll probably find the word satsanga there. It's probably entered into the English language. The English language is like a big vacuum cleaner. It takes language from French, from German, from wherever it can, and it integrates it. So satsanga means association with saints or with devotees. Very important element of Krishna consciousness. But sangha can also mean attachment, and we read in the previous chapter these two verses. Dhyayato vishayan pungsa sangas teshu bhajayate. I don't know if you recall it. Dhyayato is based on the word dhyana, which means to meditate, to become absorbed. So when you meditate on the objects of the senses, what happens? You develop attachment for them, right? That's the whole art of this advertising. They put something that they know you want, some food or something, or the opposite sex or car, and a certain percentage of people will be in the market for the food, market for the car. So they'll that desire seed will be planted, even unconsciously. Then they'll forget, they'll be reading something, driving. But when it comes time to eat something, say, yeah, maybe I'll go to McDonald's. I don't know why, but just I have this hankering because that was the ad. It works on the subconscious. So all of the aggregate of all of our attachments, that's a very important factor for what kind of body we're going to get. And so this Mukta Sangha is also in this very important verse. You may recognize it, you may not know what it means. In the 12th canto, there's a list of all of the symptoms or characteristics of the age of Kali, and the things that reduce more and more, all positive qualities that are in the Satya Yuga and the Treta Yuga, even Dwapara Yuga. And it'll say, mercy is reduced, truthfulness is reduced, people's age or longevity reduces, all this reducing. So then it has a summary verse. It says, and thus, Kalir Doshanide Rajan. Rajan means king. So it's Shukadeva Goswami speaking to King Pariksit. That's the original speaking of the Bhagavatam. So, O king, in summary, this age of Kali is an ocean of faults. There's so many things wrong with it, you see. But asti eko mahadguna, but there's one very special good quality, very good quality, mahadguna. Kirtana deva Krishna sa mukta sangha param vajait. You see that? So there's all of these faults in this age of Kali, but don't despair. There's a very good special quality in this age, and that is in this age, just by chanting the holy name of Krishna, especially Hare Krishna mantra, one will become free, mukta sangha, will become free, not from association, but from all these material attachments, you see. And what will happen to your attachment? It'll be transferred to Krishna, and service to Krishna and Krishna's devotees in prasadam. So mukta sangha samachara. That's this verse. Param Vrajait, and you will go to the Param. Param means back to Godhead. So even in this age of Kali, which is so contaminated and so much bad association, bad influences and things going on, even the geology. I mean, I was just hearing this, so many things going on. There's a big, in case you don't know, you can brace yourself. There seems to be a major drought developing in this area. And not just this area, but all across the West, where they grow things in Kansas, the wheat, so can result in famine. It's hard to imagine, but that's a special El Nino, strong El Nino. But there's something else going on, and that is a big. I don't want to say a epidemic of earthquakes. We live in the ring of fire all around the edge of the Pacific Ocean, because there's a lot of earthquakes, and there seems to be a whole bunch of them occurring at the same time up in the northwest, off Oregon and like that. And they're even saying that the chance of a tsunami is going quite a ways up in there. And we're way down here, so I'm not sure we'll experience it directly. But this is another thing that goes on in this age. All kinds of disturbances from the daivas, the different miseries. We should know what these are. The Sanskrit name is Adhyatmik, Adhidaivik, and Adhibhautik. So Adhyatmik, it says Adhyatmik, is those which are the cause of the misery is our own body and mind. In other words, there's no external disturbance. You're in a nice, you're sitting nice, comfortably on the beach and everything. But you got all this worry, someone threatening you, or you can't pay your rent, or something happens, and so you're disturbed in mind, Or you've developed some kind of disease. Maybe you have, a chronic back problem or something. You're sitting there, and you're in pain. Like I've got, I'm kind of old guy now, so you'll see that many of us this age, like Maharaj, Ashramaj, it's a chair. He's got the legs hanging over here. There's nothing wrong with that. But sometimes when I get up, you see, I have a cramp or something like that. So this is what it means to have a material body, is to have miseries, And on the other side, of course, materially, there's also pleasures you can enjoy from the body, but that can also be a source of misery, as we know from the Bhagavad Gita. And then there's Adidavik, which we're very familiar now. This is now fire season. It's come earlier and earlier now. It was in February, and there was some fires there. Even now, there's fires. So there's that, and there's as I meant, the earthquakes and the even I would say the pandemic. You can figure that, is that Adidavik or is the Adibautic? Because it's another living entity, but are the viruses really alive? It's like borderline, Anyway, this is what material life means. That's what it means to have a material body, is that you're going to be experiencing these in your lifetime. But Krishna consciousness promises to, first of all, increase your tolerance for them, so that you could experience those without it becoming depressed about it and giving up on life, so to speak. Even if you have a serious disease, you can still chant Hare Krishna, remember Krishna, listen to Krishna Katha, associate with devotees. And so that's, especially, if during your lifetime, you can purify your desires, your attachments. The Sangha here is, oftentimes the material attachments that bring us back. But that attachment can be purified. Instead of becoming attached to, baseball or something, you become attached to seeing which I was sent by Kanai, this wonderful kirtan on Tuesday night, which we were in here, and from 6 o'clock it was going on. But I figured, well, it must be habit, but you don't film those things now. We should put a notice in the weekly magazine, because it says, "Oh, here's another way you can get it." And it says, like, you click on it, but there's no link. Huh? Yeah, well, we have to. What I'm saying is, we should take that notice out of the weekly thing, because it's saying, yes, you can get. So, but anyway, so Kanai, bless him, he had filmed the whole thing, so to have the kirtan. So. This is Lord Chaitanya's first instruction, Chaito Darpanamarjanam. Chaito is your consciousness, is compared to a mirror, and marjana means to cleanse. So by the Hare Krishna chanting, especially the congregational chanting, you're cleansing the mirror of the mind. Now, it doesn't mean you become a blank. It means that the attachment is transferred to Krishna, to the devotees of Krishna, to the process of Krishna consciousness, everything about Krishna. That's what this name means, all attractive. So simply by chanting, this is part of the mystic power of Krishna consciousness. The name is Krishna, right? What is it? Abhinatva nama namino. There's a verse that says that. Abhinna means no separation between the name and the named. They can't say that about us, If I can remember the name, I still have to try to find a verse. Look it up in the. Do they have yellow pages anyway? No, anyway, but you know what I mean. So this is it's mystical, as soon as you chant seriously, and you take it, they said, well, I can't understand how this happens, but I know that when I chant and so forth, I feel wonderful. There's something going on. So then, if you learn about the actual science, you say that's because Krishna is there in his name. He has expanded himself through the name, and so we can associate with him. We can become attached to him just by chanting, with attention and properly, But it also means leading a lifestyle where you minimize material attachments. Otherwise, just like The story Prabhupada would give this analogy. There was a marriage, party, and I think it was after the marriage, they wanted to go to some place and celebrate at the wife's house or something like that. So that was going to be the next morning. So they all got into the boat. They hired a boatman, and the party was there. And so then he started rowing, and they took rest. So the sun comes up, and they see the sun's up. Okay, we must have arrived by now. Look, we haven't moved at all. What happened? I said, I don't know. And so they looked at, oh, you forgot to pull up the anchor, you idiot. Probably didn't use that word. So that's what the anchor is, keeping our attachment to some material thing while trying to chant Hare Krishna. Because chanting Hare Krishna means becoming detached from matter and attached to Krishna. So that means that you have to have enough self-control to not maintain those material attachments. And that becomes difficult, but that it's possible in association. And also, especially if you're able to get into kirtan, that's why the dancing is so important, because the whole body is involved. It's purifying everything. So it's a science. Lord Chaitanya gave that process, and it's practical, most practical process for this age. Nobody's going to do, Ashtanga yoga. I mean, you may try, or some guy will say, yeah, let me go to the West, I'll teach them Hatha yoga. And it's yoga. Oh, yoga. I heard about yoga, So but that's not, I performed Hatha yoga, and it really helped me get healthy, And luckily it was this kind of yoga, integral yoga. I think they're still going on, where it wasn't just go for the exercises. I've been to those things too, but there was also integral means they integrated as chanting and meditation, pranayama. So that's where I first picked up. Well, it wasn't where I first picked up, but I picked up a wonderful pamphlet that they had. I was going to both places. I was visiting the temple and also going to do the Hatha Yoga. And they had a bookshop and gift shop. And in the bookshop and gift shop, they had two things, very important things. They had a beautiful picture that from the Hare Krishna temple of Krishna and Balaram. That was the first one where Balaram has his arm on Krishna. That was invented by Bhardwaj. That was his idea, and Prabhupada liked it, and so much so that he had him oversee the carving of the deities for the Krishna Balaram temple, and that became like the standard thing. The deities and Krishna Balaram deities in Alatra also have that, nice little thing. But it was such a beautiful painting, and Krishna's looking right at you and smiling, and they didn't know yet that I think part of if you look at most of the paintings of Krishna, even if he's smiling, you don't see his teeth. It's kind of a subtle smile. But this one, they actually showed his teeth. So I was attracted to the picture, and they had this pamphlet about the glories of the Hare Krishna mantra, right there in the Integral Yoga. What was that all about? So his guru, I forget his name now, he had the ashram in South Africa, because there's a lot of Indians there in Africa. And so he could set that up. And they had the ashram, and supposedly for 25 years, they had been chanting 25 years straight. Now, I think in the nighttime it was probably recorded. They had a recording playing. But whatever it was, he went around and he found some scholars and people who were writing the glories of the Hare Krishna mantra. So I was looking for a mantra to meditate on. And I said, well, this sounds like the mantra I should use, and it's the one they have in the Hare Krishnas. So let me try it. And that's why I started chanting Hare Krishna. And when I read the TLC, that really was very important for me to becoming a devotee. It was full of all this philosophy of Lord Chaitanya's teachings. But anyway, the principle is here, mukta sangha, to become free from material attachment. Not free from attachment. That's the trying to become a void. No, we're living beings. That means we have activities, we have attachments, we have senses. Now our spiritual senses are covered by these material senses because we wanted to enjoy separate from Krishna. But if we understand philosophically and strengthen our intelligence, and say, no, we don't do that. I'm going to chant Hare Krishna. No, I'm not going to eat that. I'm going to eat this prasadam, like that. And so we have somebody knows, as Prabhupada said, do's and do nots, not donuts, do nots. Bhajan Ryan tells that story. When he first went to the temple, he was 17 years old or something, Donuts. They got donuts too, Yeah. Anyway. So, any questions on this verse? We have to mold our life in such a way that whatever we're doing, it's related to Krishna service. That's the idea. It may take a couple of lifetimes, but hey, how many millions of lifetimes would we then do it? Text 10. Sahayagya praja srishtva purovacha prajapatihi anena prasavishadvam esha vostvishta kamaduk. Sounds like we're in a hospital or something. Amber Alert here? Oh, okay. All right. That's all right. Okay, translation. In the beginning of creation, the Lord of all creatures sent forth generations of men and demigods, along with sacrifices for Viṣṇu, and blessed them by saying, "Be thou happy by this yajna sacrifice." Be thou happy by this yajna sacrifice, because its performance will bestow upon you everything desirable for living happily and achieving liberation. Purport. The material creation by the Lord of creatures, Viṣṇu, is a chance offered to the conditioned souls to come back home, back to Godhead. All living entities within the material creation are conditioned by material nature because of their forgetfulness of their relationship to Viṣṇu, or Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The Vedic principles are to help us understand this eternal relation, as it is stated in the Bhagavad Gita, Vedaischa sarvair ahameva vedya. This is in the 15th chapter, 15:15. Krishna is speaking here, saying, the Lord says that the purpose of the Vedas is to understand Him. In the Vedic hymns, it is said, Patim Vishvasyat Meshwaram. Therefore, the Lord of living entities is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Viṣṇu. In the Srimad Bhagavatam also, 2.420, Srila Shukadeva Goswami describes the Lord as Pati in so many ways. This is his prayers before he speaks the Bhagavatam to Parikshit. He has these nice prayers in the second canto. Shri Yakpati Yagyapati Vajapati Diyam Patir Lokapati Dharapati Patir Gatis Chandaka Vrishni Satvatam Pasidatam Me Bhagavan Satam Patihi. The Prajapati is Lord Viṣṇu, because that's also a word for Brahma. The original Prajapati, everyone is his offspring, as he says in the 14th chapter. But Brahma arranged for it through him as coming, everyone gets their body from the previous life. Okay, the Prajapati is Lord Viṣṇu, and he is the Lord of all living creatures. Oh boy. All right, so this is a mistake in the printing. I duplicated that line, so forgive me. It was fixed in the next printing, it'll be fixed. Page 148. The Prajapati is Lord Viṣṇu, and he is the Lord of all living creatures, all worlds, and all beauties, and the protector of everyone. The Lord created this material world to enable the conditioned souls to learn how to perform yajnas, or sacrifices, for the satisfaction of Viṣṇu, so that while in the material world they can live very comfortably without anxiety, and after finishing the present material body, they can enter into the kingdom of God. That is the whole program for the conditioned soul. By performance of yajna, the conditioned souls gradually become Krishna conscious and become godly in all respects. In the age of Kali, the Sankirtan Yajna, the chanting of the names of God, is recommended by the Vedic scriptures. And this transcendental system was introduced by Lord Chaitanya for the deliverance of all men in this age. Sankirtan Yajna and Krishna consciousness go well together. Lord Krishna, in his devotional form as Lord Chaitanya, is mentioned in the Srimad Bhagavatam 11.532 as follows, with special reference to the Sankirtan Yajna. I'll say, you say, Krishna Varnam Tvisha Krishnam Sango Pangastra Parshadam Yajnai Sankirtana Prayaya Yajanti Hisumeda. In this age of Kali, people who are endowed with sufficient intelligence will worship the Lord, who is accompanied by his associates, by performance of Sankirtan Yajna. Close quote. Other yajnas prescribed in the Vedic literatures are not easy to perform in this age of Kali, but the Sankirtan Yajna is easy and sublime for all purposes, as recommended in the Bhagavad Gita also, 9.14. 9.14. What is that one? I think that's Satatam Kirtiyantamam. Yeah, that's Satatam Kirtiyantamam. But in the 10th chapter, Krishna says, Yajnanam japa yagyosmi. Of all yagas, I am japa. So they're both bona fide yagas, especially Sankirtan, but we don't want to neglect the japa yaga also. So here we have this wonderful verse about Lord Chaitanya and Shriya Patir, Dhyan Patir. So this is the Lord, he's the master of all of these aspects of the material energy. Bhagavan Satam Pati. Satam Pati means the Lord of the devotees, the Satams, the saints. So the idea is that when you think about it, because there's a central principle that I've mentioned before that's there at the beginning of the Nectar of Devotion. Anya bilashada shunyam jnana karma janavatam anukulina krishnanushilanam bhakti uttama. He's defining what uttama bhakti is, and that's the whole subject and the goal of the Nectar of Devotion, Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. So first he describes what it's not. Anya abhilashita shunyam. Shunyam means being devoid of other aspirations or desires. And he gives a little categorization. Jnana karma jnanavratam. So the jnana means for impersonalism. And karma in this context means fruit of desire. And anavratam means not covered, you see, not polluted by desire to merge into the oneness or become one with God, or enjoy material sense gratification. So this is what it isn't. So what do we do? Anukuryena Krishna anushilanam. Shilana means activity or behavior. All your activities should be done favorably for Krishna. Anukuryena Krishna anushilanam. Bhakti uttama. That's the definition of uttama bhakti. All activities means every breath. In other words, at every moment of every day, you're living for Krishna, and whatever you do with your knowledge acquiring senses, or your active senses, or your mind or your intelligence, you can say, oh, this I'm doing for Krishna or Narayan. There's a verse like that in the 11th canto, which I may not be able to cite perfectly. But it's just a thorough definition of what it means to be an absolutely pure devotee on the highest. Every breath, every activity, every thought is, you say, well, this is part of this, I'll do this, is part of this service that I'm doing for Krishna. Like, I come here early in the morning, before Mangalarti. So I've accepted that, that's part of my duties. So I change Prabhupada's water, and I make sure this door is unlocked, and I turn on the fountain, and I make sure the microphone is here. There's a few things that have to be prepared. And it's great. I really feel good doing it. And it means I have to get up, extra early in order to get here by 4:10 at the latest, like that, 4:05. So, and that's just, one little thing. But that's what this is supposed to be. The ashram, the temple, is that whoever lives here is, made a big commitment, and they're focusing, hopefully, every moment of every day in performing some kind of service for Krishna. Now, the morning program is started, Prabhupada set up. And I told you the name I made up? I think I told you the word. Who remembers what it is? I'll make a t-shirt. You can wear a t-shirt. Mantu Jagri Gukla? You know what that is? Man is Mangalarti. Tu is Tulsi Puja. Ja is Japa. Gri is greeting the deities. Gu is Guru Puja, and Kla is class. So there's the whole morning program. And Prabhupada set that up, and you can see, there's everything there. There's plenty of kirtan. We begin with a beautiful prayer to the spiritual master, plus Hare Krishna kirtan, and then of course Tulsi Puja. which is very important. A beautiful song, praying to serve Tulsi Devi, and then of course japa. It's about 2 hours time of japa. It's 5:15 to 7:15, and then wonderful greeting of the deities. They've been dressed so nicely by the pujaris, and I have a set of prayers that I offer. I can share with you. I don't know if I have time today, and then Guru Puja. Which is ecstatic. Shri Guru Charana Padma Kevala Bhakati Sadma. And then Kirtan, it's about 10 minutes of Hare Krishna Kirtan. And then beautiful Bhagavatam class. We're just starting. We're going to start the 10th canto. So yeah, we can. I think those classes can be accessed on the YouTube, right? The morning classes recorded there. Yeah. So anyway, it's a complete program, and if we really take it seriously, then we'll experience the benefits, and we'll feel, so much, anxiety comes from trying to enjoy in this world, because first of all, it's time bound. This is the big thing. You may be able to do it for a while, but then there's an end to it. I mean, this is that whole verse. I don't want to chant it, by heart by now. Yehi sangsparjita bhoga, is that sense gratification is the source of all misery for two reasons. One is that it brings you back again. It ensures birth, old age, disease, and death. So yes, there's some pleasure there, but it's temporary. And the result of it is that you're not mukta sangha, but increase the sangha. You're increasing and inevitably, as you get older, you can't enjoy like you used to. So there's that business that goes on. And finally, body break. It can be years. You have some condition, cancer, whatever it is. The body is just it's because it's fallible. It can never give the full satisfaction of the soul, which is what we're hankering for. The little sense gratification is just a pale reflection of the pleasures that you can get from serving Krishna and becoming Krishna conscious. But there's no way of knowing that in our bewildered condition. And so we need someone to do an intervention. Someone who's really a drug addict or an alcoholic. Hey, listen, you're ruining your life. Your marriage is breaking up. I'm taking you to I don't know what they have. They have a retreat somewhere. Or Prabhupada, everyone laughed. And he said, yes, I heard that in America there's a hospital only for priests to get sober. So that there's a place where they get alcoholic priests. This is what we're up against. So Krishna consciousness is like that. It's especially the ashrams, the temples, the farms. We really want to get serious, but it's a process because it involves like anything. If you're so habituated, to really break that habit and make a good habit can have a lot of effort. But with a good guidance and facility and association, you can get the willpower to actually do that and become cured of addiction. We're all addicts. Every people in the conditioned soul is an addict. We become addicted to a certain set of sense, objects and sense pleasures, and even if you succeed in achieving some of that, it's temporary. And it leaves, and then time goes on, you can't enjoy it anymore, and it's just, inevitably it becomes a depressing situation. But in Krishna consciousness, and I've been there, now we see with Ladali, she may pass at any moment. But I visited her and with some others, and she was in a good situation. She had her husband there, and devotees were coming and surrounding the kirtan and so many different things. And, she's facing the inevitable thing, but she's doing it in a Krishna conscious way. And I remember Radhanath Das, not Radhanath Swami, not yet anyway. We had Radhanath Das here who was amazing. He had long disease. He was in this wasn't just a simple wheelchair, but he was practically had to lie down. But he would go out every day. He had an aide with him. He had some help from the local government, from the state government, and he would do books. He would go to the parking lot, and take this book. And you know who became devotee because of that? Balaram and his mother, Rohini. So at one point, there was a breakdown in his health, and he went to the hospital. And Rajendranandan was here. It was in the time of the year when he was back, and he would spend hours with him. Krishna Katha. It was really very nice. I visited a few times. So they told him, this condition that you have now, it's not terminal. You can still live, but you're going to have to keep that breathing machine on all the time, and everything. So he said, forget that, So he calls me up. And he says, okay, he didn't say pull the plug, but at the end, okay, I want to leave. And, but he wanted me to come and chant because they liked it. And so he wanted me to come on Friday. He said, no, I can't come on Friday because I'm traveling on Thursday evening to Alatra. I said, all right, we'll do it Thursday then, so he had his choice. So he contacted everybody. There was a good 25 devotees there, and I'll never forget Rohini, they would pull the plug and he was beginning to go out, and she went there and she just offered a basin to his feet and she was crying and she was thanking him for saving her, saving her and her son, giving them her first books and so that they became interested in Krishna consciousness. And then, he was just lying there and we were all chanting until the lion in the machine was, horizontal. He was gone, And there were others too. And that's our best bet. I'm telling you, it's Shamali. Those who know, I don't know if you remember Shamali. You remember Shamali. And I used to visit there to Alachua. And she was married to Bhishma Devi, who'd been the temple president here. She grew up here, and when I first moved nearby with my old friend Gangeya, I was living right across from Yamunapati, and she was a daughter by his first wife, which is Parashakti, and she was just a kid, growing up. And then at one point she took up the flute, playing the flute, and I was a flute player, so I was just playing a little flute with her and everything. It was very nice. And then, I moved and she went to school. She went up, and I think she went to college here. She went to college in England, I think, also for a while. And she hooked up with Jujuma Swami's Polish tour, And she loved it, and she took initiation from him. It was great. And then she came back here and she got married to Bhishma Dev. And so when I visited there quite a couple of times a year, I would go over there for lunch. It was very sweet, And then we learned that she had cancer, and it was everything. So Parashakti went there, and Yamunapati also visited, and he stayed quite a while. And I would call up, and I would read some poetry to her and everything like that, And we had a memorial when she passed. She had contracted cancer. And Yamunapati mentioned how, it was so peaceful when she left. I mean, you may know, I was a hospital worker, and I saw so many people die. Anything but peaceful. I mean, they were so disturbed. They always had to put in sedation, which is the last thing you want to do. You want to be fully conscious, but no. But he says, yeah, she was just like she got on the Vaikuntha airplane. It was wonderful. It was ideal. Because he was, and Jimmy would call her from Vrindavan, long distance, and spend, I don't know, a long time on the phone with her, encouraging, probably sharing, this series he has. I don't know if you're aware, he's got impetuses, what does he call them? Stimulation for love of Krishna. It's called, I forget the technical term, the Sanskrit term, but there's a whole chapter, like Krishna's flute, how that stimulates the gopis in so many ways. Anyway, so he's up to like in almost 200 now editions of that, series of that. Where this one was the Chamra fan and all this. So I don't know if he was doing that at that time with her, but he was encouraging her and guiding her, and it was very peaceful. Leaving the body, even though she was only 37 or 38, I forget what did. So we're all going to have to face that. So that's the ideal, to be in a state where you don't have any other desires. That Prabhupada, that when Prabhupada was leaving, one of the things he said, they asked him, "Do you want anything?" Prabhupada said, "No, I don't have any desires. I don't want anything." And there was a big kirtan going on. It was gorgeous. I wasn't there, but Rajendranandan was there. So that's going to come. And that, that's the gift of Krishna consciousness. If you're in association and someone's reminding you of Krishna and you're calling out helplessly to Krishna, please save me, take me home, So that's the goal. And it's built up over a lifetime of doing as many things gradually for Krishna, only for Krishna. Okay. And that's what we're reading about, this karma yoga. All right, now he's going to talk about the devas. I will do one more and then we'll do some poetry. All right, text 11. Devan bhavayatanena te deva bhavayantu vaha padaspadam bhavayantah shreyak paramavapsitah. The demigods, being pleased by sacrifices, will also please you, and thus, by cooperation between men and demigods, prosperity will reign for all. Purport: the demigods are empowered administrators of material affairs. They supply the supply of air, light, water, and all other benedictions for maintaining the body and soul of every living entity is entrusted to the demigods, who are innumerable assistants in different parts of the body of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Their pleasures and displeasures are dependent on the performance of yajnas by the human being. Some of the yajnas are meant to satisfy particular demigods, but even in so doing, Lord Viṣṇu is worshipped in all yajnas as the chief beneficiary. It is stated also in the Bhagavad Gita that Krishna himself is the beneficiary of all kinds of yajnas. Bhoktaram yajnatapasam. Therefore, ultimate satisfaction of the Yajnapati is the chief purpose of all yajnas. When these yajnas are perfectly performed, naturally the demigods in charge of the different departments of supply are pleased, and there is no scarcity in the supply of natural products. Performance of yajnas has many side benefits, ultimately leading to liberation from material bondage. By performance of yajnas, all activities become purified. As it is stated in the Vedas, Ahada Shuddhau, Sattva Shuddhi, Sattva Shuddhau, Duva Smriti, Smriti Lambe, Sarva Grantinam, Vipramokshaha. By performance of yajna, one's eatables become sanctified, and by eating sanctified foodstuffs, one's very existence becomes purified. By the purification of existence, finer tissues in the memory become sanctified, and when memory is sanctified, one can think of the path of liberation, and all these combined together lead to Krishna consciousness, the great necessity of present-day society. So this thing, what the relationship between the demigods and Krishna. So there's this famous verse. How's it go? Yata taro mula nishecharena chipyanti tatskanda bujo bashaka. Pranopahara chayatindidanan tataiva sarva hanamachiteja. Just as yata taro mula, by putting water into the root of a tree, all of the branches and the twigs and the leaves and the fruits and flowers become nourished. Similarly, by serving Krishna, all of the demigods become satisfied. And that's the whole purpose of the Govardhan Puja pastime, where Krishna convinces father, not, I always likened it to, we had a small apartment when my father was filling out his tax return, every year. He had a regular job. Sometimes I would go to the kitchen table and I would say, Dad, what are you doing, So I'm doing my taxes, I said, okay. But Krishna, so Krishna came up and said, Dad, what are you doing? Well, we're getting ready to do the Indra Yajna. It's like paying taxes, right? So that the government, Indra, will pour down the rain. So Krishna, he had all this argument why he shouldn't. We don't need to perform the sacrifice for Indra. And he even with preaching his karma mimamsa philosophy, which is kind of atheistic, said, no. Isn't that where the workers' worship thing comes in? Wasn't that like a motto in India at one point? Just do your work nicely. That's your sufficient work, efficient worship. So that's it. Look, if you just do your work nicely as a Vaishya and everything, then Indra will have to send the rains, like that. Anyway, he convinced him not to do it. And of course, what was the result? Indra became very upset. And he sent, he really kind of lost it because, he If his plan had succeeded, he would have annihilated the whole community of Vrindavan. But of course, Krishna was there to save everybody. But he's invoking these monstrous clouds that are there for the end of the universe, and, pour down water like everything. So when that started happening, then of course all the Vrajavasis called out to Krishna, and he said, don't worry, you just come under the hill. I got it. Okay, come on under, And don't worry, I won't drop it, come on. So they all came under and they were saved. 7 days he's standing there. 7 days and nights, nobody's sleeping or eating, So to show that, and Indra was, when Indra's sacrifice, okay, it's time for the poem. When Indra's sacrifice he stopped, he stole the Deva's pride. By playfully uplifting Giri Govardhan to hide his friends and cows beneath the hill for 7 nights and days, or glorious to the Lord who in Vrindavan's forest place. So part of the purpose there, besides engaging on this wonderful, intimate relation with his beloved devotees there, was to show that no one has to worship the demigods. If you just worship Krishna, it's like they can't give any benediction without Krishna giving it to them. So why worship them? Just worship Krishna. That's the logic. And so that's a very important point. Otherwise, I'm telling you, you go to these temples. I remember I used to go to Winnipeg, and every year, and there was a Hindu temple that they would go and they do a little bhajan. But it's classic, There's Shiva, and then you have, of course, Narayan and Kali. You have everyone is there. So whoever you happen to have faith for, you can find there. No, that's not. That's not what we're about. You just worship Krishna, Radha Krishna, and all the demigods, and everyone will be satisfied. All right, we have time for one little poem. Besides that one, okay. So this is just one verse in a poem. I'm going to have to bring my. It's called. This is a famous poem, Madhuradi Pater Akilam Sakalam, or something like Madhuradi Pater Akilam Satatam. And it's so that Krishna is sweet. Everything about Krishna is sweet. So I said, well, that's an easy one. Every line will end with the word sweet. I don't have to worry about rhyming anything, you see. So here's the refrain verse, and then tomorrow, if you come, I'll do the whole poem. Your lips are sweet, your smile is sweet, your lotus eyes and face are sweet, your heart is sweet, your name is sweet. O King of Sweet, you're sweet complete. What do you think? Okay, so we'll complete that one tomorrow. And here, just another real short one to stand up. What else? Maduram, maduram, babadat sivibo, maduram, maduram, badanam, maduram. Madugandi madusmita metadaho, maduram, 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 maduram. Sweet, sweet is my dear Lord's form, sweet is still his face so fair, but his honey-scented gentle smile is sweet beyond compare. Hare Krishna. Perfect verse. All glory to Srila Prabhupada. Hare Hare Bol.